Hello, everyone. Okay, so now we are starting a very, very important session, that is the data analysis using SPSS. So, SPSS is actually a very, very important tool that you need to learn. Okay, it's just like you can say the foundation of research analysis. And after going through the session and after practicing on your the data set or anything like that, I will be sharing the data set. I will be sharing the link to download the SPSS. You can write it in your CV that I know how to do analysis using SPSS, and it's a very important skill to have. Okay. Then there are the upgrade like Stata, R, Python, and other stuff like that. But SPSS is like the most basic user interface that you can use to analyze the data. And even if you search on ChatGPT or Gemini, which is the most easiest software to use for data analysis, it will suggest you the SPSS. So SPSS is I love it, and it's a very amazing software. Okay, so let's start. These are the steps in the statistical analysis. First step would be you have to take some time out and just look at your spreadsheet. You will just sit there for 5 minutes and you will look at your data. You will explore your data. You will look at it. You will identify it. Just take some moments to reflect. What is this data showing? How is this data represented? Which variables are there? And we'll be going through that stuff. Okay. Then you will run some tests of analysis and then you will interpret those results. So the first session would be on this one, then this one, then this one. Okay. So this is the first thing that you have to do. You have to see and look at your data. We will be doing a hands-on also. Okay. You have to define your data. Okay, so if there would be data can be of two types. Let's just deal with the basics for now. Okay, so the data is of two types. There it can be numerical data or it can be categorical data. What is a numerical data? That is expressed in numbers. Okay, like your weight, your height, your blood pressure measurements, your lab values, your HP value, and stuff like that. And then there is the categorical data. Categorical data is expressed in categories like you can say male, female, yes, no, poor knowledge, good knowledge, and best knowledge. Okay, stuff like that. And in further categories of the numerical data is discrete and continuous. Okay, discrete is like how many children do you have? One, two, three. Okay, and how many number? And continuous is like your number can take on decimal values. Okay, that is the height, the weight, the HP, lab values, your cholesterol level, your uric acid level, and this stuff. Okay. Most of you guys will be knowing this stuff already, but we are just like taking up the stuff and then we will move on to the main thing that is using SPSS. Okay. Then we have the categorical data that is a nominal that has no relation, like gender, male, female, they have no relation with each other, and the ordinal. Basically, you are concerned with is it categorical or is it numerical? That will affect which statistical test we will apply. You don't need to go on into further stuff, but if the data is not used for analysis, it can be labeled as just a bookkeeping variable. Like sometimes you are just like labeling stuff, you are just adding the stuff. So we can just say that it's just bookkeeping. We are just keeping this data because it's important, but we are not going to use it for the analysis. Okay. So the next thing here again, numerical, categorical. Categorical is further divided and numerical is further divided. You can go through these examples for your own clarification. Next thing that is important, first you will be looking at your data and seeing is it numerical or is it categorical. Second step you will be doing would be is my data paired? Okay, paired is very important because it will later on help us to apply the test that is the paired t-test. So what is a paired? That is before and after situation. Like for example, I take your test. I make you guys fill out the form before before this presentation, and I check your knowledge after this presentation. So that is known as a peer t-test. Or I can say a patient who is in dialysis, his renal function test before dialysis and his renal function test after dialysis, or before admission is his lab values and after admission his lab values, stuff like that. So before after that is paired. They are paired to each other. They are known as they can be used. This needs to be considered because we'll be applying specific test. Okay. If there are pairs higher than two, then we call them as the repeated measures. Unpaired are not related to each other. For example, I'm checking the anxiety of a person and the depression of the person. So they are two different variables. Okay, so this is important stuff. Secondly, one thing that is important is the numerical data, whether is it parametric or non-parametric. Okay, so for the parametric, we have to know it. This is a little bit different. Previously, it was easy, numerical, categorical, paired, unpaired, but parametric would be a new term for you guys. Parametric means the data is normally distributed. What does it mean by the normal? Here, the picture is in the background. I will be showing you properly in the hands-on thing. But it is in a bell curve form, and this is the value that is a mean value. And if the data is distributed across the mean value, that means the data is parametric. Okay, the data is symmetrical around a central point. It has a bell-shaped curve. And if it is not parametric, we will be going for other measures. We will be discussing them in detail. I just want you guys to know this thing, that these are the terms that we will be using: numerical, categorical, paired, unpaired, parametric, not parametric. Parametric means data is normally distributed, symmetrical data. There is no such thing like, for example, if I conduct the economical value of the Pakistani's population, there would be some who would be billionaires, but there would be some who will be earning 1 or 2 rupees per day. Okay, so what these two variables would be doing, they would be distorting my data. Okay, so maybe it will distort the data towards one side and to the other side because of the poverty. And it's not normally distributed. So we will say the data is not parametric. And for that thing, we will be using some other tests. Okay. The main purpose of defining is just to decide the test. So recap, the data can be categorical, numerical, or just a bookkeeping. It can be paired or unpaired, parametric or non-parametric. We must run a test to tell. Okay, further. For statistical tests, we use two types of variables further: independent variable and the dependent variable. I guess we would be knowing this thing. What is an independent variable? That is not dependent on anything else. For example, I say in the year 2020, these many people have depression. So year is an independent variable, and anxiety, depression, or the factors that could have changed with time, they're the dependent variable because with time they changed, not because of them the time changed. Okay, so this you have to see what is an independent variable, what is a dependent variable. And all statistical tests give three important information, and we'll be discussing them too. These would be the graphs. We will be looking at them and exploring them also. Okay, so in the graph that we would be discussing that in the next part.